You're listening to Legacy Through Literacy, where we dissect the philosophy of money one mindset at a time. From uncovering why we settle for our current financial standing to facing the fears that keep us from taking that first crucial step, we tackle the beliefs that are holding you back. Guided by insights from legendary thinkers and today's financial trailblazers, we don't just talk about change, we empower you to own it. This isn't just talk, this is Legacy Through Literacy. Well, hello there. My name is Eddie, and you're listening to Legacy Through Literacy. This is a podcast focused on the mindset of wealth and the idea of becoming your own boss. And this utilizes a lot of different concepts, from philosophical thoughts about determination and progress, and current financial gurus from the Ramseys to the Andrews to the Wrights. The entire concept is built around why we do the things that we do and why we act the way that we do. For this episode, specifically, the question is, why are you broke? Now, I think we can actually tear this down into a couple different concepts, because there's always the argument of wealth versus the mentality of being poor. So I think we all understand that we can be grateful with what we have. Somebody told me once that you can be comfortable sleeping on the street with a blanket and a pillow. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be better. And I believe that this is the same concept when it comes to financial accumulation, financial stability, material wealth, asset control, asset management. I think what people try to conflate is that happiness and wealth maybe don't necessarily go hand in hand. And I think that a lot of people need to understand that our mindsets in America, or at least in America, our mindset is one that is brought on by the public education system of how we're supposed to fundamentally become a contributing member of society. And I think if you look and go through the educational systems within different urban communities, and you look at where money goes, what it supports, those kind of things, we could probably make it a whole nother podcast just about the class differences between financial wealth in particular cities and neighborhoods, and the success of those things. One of the reasons why I want to tackle this, or why I've decided to embrace this path, is that I believe a big fundamental function of how we are taught to go to work, we go to school, we go to college, we go to whatever our mode of education is, trade school, whatever. And then we work. And when we work, we try to do what we're told, right? You save for retirement. Most companies provide a 401 and a little bit of like a life insurance policy. And I think a lot of people see this as a good thing, right? What is your match? What kind of money am I getting? What am I doing? This is what we are taught to do. We are not taught about the avenues of wealth that require increased education in the financial sector, like understanding how things work in the financial sector, understanding what the waterfall effect is with life insurance, understanding that placing ourselves in a position to send that wealth down the line to create a legacy for your family. I don't think we're taught about that. This is the question of why are you broke is not one of whether or not you are grateful for the things that you have in your life. These are a fundamental understanding that you are not taught to educate or be educated in other avenues of investment, other avenues of wealth creation. And I think that I don't want to say that I would say that it was like a malicious intent. I really don't believe that most people are out there to do things to hurt people. But with that in mind, you have to ask yourself, what does that mean for you? I don't think anybody's holding you down, because you wouldn't have access to the information if it wasn't available. Looking into the things that can help you But we don't think about these things, right? We're usually all too busy with going to work and building our nest eggs and trying to buy a home, taking care of our families. But this is an important thing to know, that you have to take the steps of your own education. You have to take your own, because it's not taught to you in your basic education and, through grade school. And then unless you actually go to look into these kind of electives and then choose to pursue a financial career. And then a lot of people, it's a whole nother concept, I guess, to even consider, when you look at what is the financial incentive for financial advisors, like to go out, what is it that they're trying to pursue? I think the fear for a lot of people whenever they try to go in and investigate these certain things. I did real estate for a little while, and even still, the real estate market is a very vicious market. People are always constantly looking to undercut somebody or gain some kind of different avenue, at least from the investor side. It's why people have real estate brokers. It's why people work with people they trust, which is the whole concept of making sure that you have an inner circle of people that are of a wealth mindset, creating those people. They say that you are the summarization of the 5 people that you have in your life, constantly in your life. And then just thinking about that, it's like, who are you around the most? Who are the most 5 common people that you spend your free time with? I guess even your work time, because I think a lot of us end up, stuck in that modality of our 9-to-5s. In my case, I used to work 120 hours a week in the oil field. And even when I had access to, I definitely made a lot of money, but I had almost zero time. And the time that I did have off, I was usually used to try to recreate my life in a way that I could provide the human connection that is required outside of trying to work a job or trying to do the things that we need to do to to maintain our wealth and our standard of living in our current society. So the question, why are you broke? Well, I think one of the main reasons is we don't understand why is it that we work the way that we do. Why are most Americans in a position of living paycheck to paycheck and 1 or 2 paychecks away from financial ruin? Why is it that most Americans don't understand the benefits of the waterfall effect to your family? Why is it that most Americans don't understand how do you have a position where you pass away and you can work for 50, 60 years and have nothing to show for it when you pass away, or nothing to help you when you reach an age where you can't take care of yourself anymore. You worked your entire life and have nothing to show for it. And this is becoming more and more of a standard story for what is a diminishing middle class in this country, and kind of mainly one of the fundamental focuses, I think, of why people feel the way they do about, our current government and administration. This is why people have focused on these things, because they feel that the system is broken. But the thing is that as broken as it can be, again, that's a whole nother podcast. So it's not like, I'm not saying that things can't be better. Trust me. I on my other show, I haven't recorded in a while, but a lot of that was cultural stuff. And I could go down rabbit holes for days with a lot of that stuff. But the current point, the current dynamic of why people feel the way they do is because we haven't been educated in understanding how to pursue or to set up, or even how do you address somebody? I mean, where you have no trust with that person. I think one of the best things that I've found while I've gone on this path is that there's the broker aspect of it, And then there's the community aspect of it. Now, you could be a broker and sell policies and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But the community, bringing people together, having people have that mindset, creating your circle, your inner circle of your 5 most influential people in your life. I mean, think of the people in your life that have drive and have focus. Think of the people in your life that you can make them show you, or not make, but they would be willing to even show you how to be a better version of yourself, how to be a better person of community, a person of family, person of leadership and motivation. Like what kind of people do you keep in your life that are like that? And I don't think everybody, because generalizing is usually a bad concept. So to generalize and assume that everybody is in the same mindset as yourself, or even is trying to pull you out of the muck that you might be in. Some of us don't have that. We don't have that privilege. But I think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us know people that are hustlers and entrepreneurs, and maybe give them a call. Maybe see what they're doing, see how you can help them. Support your local businesses is a big fundamental thing with myself, is to try to, wherever I spend my money, I always try to spend my money in focus of trying to help people, help businesses, help my to help my entrepreneurial friends, and to help them become better versions of what they want to be. But I've never engaged with them the way that I'm engaging with them now. Now I want the community. Now I want the entrepreneurial attitude of working together, creating the network together. Why are you broke? Well, you're broke because you don't have the mindset. You don't have the mindset of wealth creation. You don't have the mindset of understanding what it is that you're supposed to do. And maybe some of us do. I'm not saying everybody. And specifically, I always talk to myself first before I speak to anyone else. I have 2 ears, 1 mouth, so I always listen twice as much as I speak. I try to hear as much of the story as possible. And I fear that a lot of people, we kind of get ingrained with how we're taught to think rather than just to think, to open our minds to the possibilities, to open our minds that the concept of that, the reason that you're probably broke is because you are scared to ever take a step into securing a financial freedom. I think a lot of us have stepped out probably at some point and tried to maybe invest a little here, or maybe consider owning a little bit of a business, or trying a network marketing kind of thing. And I think a lot of us never really push on it, right? We see the potential. We see that there's a possibility of trying something new, but we fear it. And we let that fear control us back into what's safe. And what's safe is the thing that often a lot of people aren't very happy with, relying on that paycheck to paycheck and hoping that, things will just get better. But without change, progress cannot be made. Without change, you will always be in the position that you are in until you break that chain of fear and pursue what it is that you actually want to change. So the main reason that I think a lot of us are broke, and again, says this isn't the philosophical idea of gratitude. This is the concept of financial wealth. Part 1, I think it's education. We don't like to learn. I think a lot of people, once they feel they've learned, they don't feel like it's necessary to learn anymore. Number 2, I think it's indoctrination and cultural indoctrination, however you want to look at that. Whether that's malicious or just a general idea, I think what we're being addressed to is how to be a functioning member of society. And the functioning members of societies are usually workers. I mean, think of the jobs that are available, like the things that a lot of us have done. Those jobs, most of the time, have to be there in order for that industry to exist. Whether you're a cashier, which, as AI and technology, whole nother podcast. But if you're a cashier, if you're a server, if you're a line worker, if you work in electricians, if you're in the oil field, all those jobs are things that need to be there in order for our society to function. And there's more of that because it's a lot easier to gain a paycheck and secure a person's sense of self-worth and comfort rather than them to pursue something a little greater than themselves. But I think the biggest hurdle for why you are broke is going to be a mental one that consists of fear of change, ignorance of knowledge and wisdom, and fear of trying. I think a lot of people are we've got it in us that we aren't worth the effort. I saw something one time that said that most people will give 30 to 40 years of their life working for another person to make them a millionaire, but won't spend 2 to 3 years to develop their own business. That one hit me pretty good. You are listening to Legacy Through Literacy, a podcast with your host. My name is Eddie, and this is a product of the Logos Financial Literacy movement. You can find on Facebook and Instagram. Meta is a beast. Don't know necessarily if I like it, but it is rough and is a production of the Pod Mentor space. And just want to send out my appreciation. Thank you for listening. This is episode 1, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.